first sign that something was wrong came in the form of a single, misplaced object. A coffee mug that Emma never remembered using, sitting right there on the kitchen counter. At first, she blamed herself. Maybe she had left it there without realizing. Maybe she was just tired. But the second sign came later that night when she found the back door unlocked, despite her checking it 3 times before bed. By the time she heard the footsteps in the attic, she knew she wasn't alone. Emma had always loved the feeling of solitude. Her parents were overly protective, and being left home alone for the weekend was a rare luxury. She relished the peace, the quiet, the independence. No one to ask where she was going, no one to remind her to lock up, no one to tell her to keep a light on when she went to bed. She was safe in her own home, or at least that's what she told herself. The first evening passed uneventfully. She made popcorn, curled up on the couch, and lost herself in a late-night horror movie. But halfway through, she noticed it, something just slightly off. The coffee mug on the kitchen counter. She never remembered using it. She hadn't even had coffee today. Maybe she had left it out the night before. Maybe she was imagining things. She rinsed it out, shook off the weird feeling creeping up her spine, and went to bed. The next evening, after finishing a book and scrolling through her phone for a while, she decided to check the locks before bed. She always double-checked the doors, just in case. But when she got to the kitchen, she stopped dead in her tracks. The back door, the one she had locked earlier, was unlocked. Her stomach twisted. Had she forgotten? Number. She was sure she locked it. She could remember the click of the deadbolt, the way she had checked it twice. But now, here it was, slightly open, a sliver of darkness seeping through the gap. She locked it again, this time making absolutely sure. But the unease gnawed at her. That night, as she lay in bed staring at the ceiling, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. At midnight, she awoke with a start. It wasn't a dream. It was a sound. Thump. Her breath caught in her throat. It wasn't outside. It wasn't the wind. It was coming from inside the house. Then came a slow, deliberate creaking noise, like someone shifting their weight on an old wooden floor, from the attic. She sat up, straining her ears. Silence. Maybe it was just the house settling. Maybe it was nothing. She grabbed her phone, hesitated, then texted her mom. Did Dad go up in the attic recently? I swear I hear something up there. No response. She checked the time. 12:07 a.m. They were probably asleep. Then came another sound, a dragging noise, like something heavy being pulled across the attic floor. Emma's blood turned to ice. Her fingers hovered over the screen, ready to dial 911, but she hesitated. What if it was nothing? What would she even say? That she was scared of a noise? She gritted her teeth, throwing off the covers. She had to check. If she didn't, she wouldn't sleep. Steeling herself, she crept into the hallway, heart hammering, and looked up at the attic hatch. It was closed. The pull string dangled there, swaying slightly, as if something had disturbed it. Her mouth went dry. Just as she was about to back away, her phone buzzed. A new message from an unknown number. You should have checked the attic when you had the chance. A chill ran down her spine. Her fingers trembled as she gripped the phone tighter. Her pulse pounded in her ears. Then, a whisper from above. You've been such a great roommate. She gasped, stepping back. A single drop of warm liquid landed on her forehead. Slowly, with horror, she raised her hand to touch it. It was red. Her eyes shot up to the attic hatch, and then it moved. The wooden panel slid slightly open, revealing a pale, bony hand gripping the edge. Something was crawling down. Emma stumbled backward, barely stifling a scream. Her instincts screamed at her to run, but she was frozen, paralyzed with terror. A face emerged from the attic, peering down at her. The skin was stretched too tightly over its skull, its lips curled in an unnatural grin. Sunken, black eyes bore into her, and then it spoke again. "I've been here for so long, you never noticed me." It dropped down. Emma let out a strangled sob and bolted, adrenaline surging through her veins. She sprinted to the front door, yanking at the lock, but her hands were slicked with sweat and shaking too much. Behind her, she could hear it moving. It wasn't walking, it was crawling. She wrenched the door open and ran into the night, barefoot and breathless. She didn't stop, not even when she heard it laughing. The police arrived minutes later after a neighbor called 911, reporting a girl screaming in the street. They searched the house, but found nothing, no footprints, no signs of forced entry, no evidence that anyone else had been there. The attic was empty, save for some old boxes. But then they found something else. In the air vent near Emma's bedroom, they discovered a nest of sorts. Old blankets, food wrappers, and a collection of Polaroid pictures. Pictures of Emma, sleeping, eating, showering, taken from inside the house. And the last picture, stuffed into the vent's opening, a close-up of her face from just last night. With a single message scrawled at the bottom in shaky, jagged handwriting, "You were never alone."